Hello young guys, good morning. You are welcome in the zoology class organized by Society of Career Technology and Jan Vikas Mahasabha. Today, 29 December 2020. This is episode number 135. Today we will talk about cybernetics and homeostasis. Cybernetics concept was given by Norbert Wiener in 1970. Actually, the cybernetics is the science of steering or control. According to this concept, the control mechanism is similar in both animate and inanimate objects. Suppose if we talk about an automobile, it runs by two systems: accelerator, which increases its speed whenever required, retarder or brake, which retards or decreases its speed whenever it is required. A similar happening in case of our body also. When we come after taking a severe physical muscular exercise or after running, at that time the energy requirement of all our body cells is increased. So the sympathetic nerves send a message and our heartbeat and respiratory rate both are increased for a short while to cope up with the increased energy requirement. But at the same time, the parasympathetic nerves act opposite to this. They try to slow down our respiratory rate and heartbeat within 8 to 10 minutes, and then it becomes normal. So you can see that here the control mechanism is same in both inanimate and animate object. The control mechanism of machine is called servo mechanism, and the control mechanism of living is called homeostasis. Actually, now let us talk about homeostasis. The concept of homeostasis was given by Walter B. Cannon. And Walter B. Cannon said that all our body cells are exposed to two types of environments. Just wait. This control mechanism of inanimate object is called servo mechanism, and control mechanism of living system is called homeostasis. Now let us talk about homeostasis. In fact, Claude Bernard had said that all our body cells are exposed to two types of environments. Suppose this is an organism, it is exposed to an external environment present around us. The light, temperature, air all affect our body activity. Besides this, Claude Bernard said that the environment present around the cell in the intercellular space, which is bathed by blood, lymph and extracellular fluid, is also important. And Claude Bernard said that all our physiological processes have only one target, that they somehow directly or indirectly try to maintain this internal environment constant. And this is a universal fact. After that, Walter B. Cannon in 1951 used the word homeostasis for this phenomena. Maintenance of a constant internal environment is called homeostasis. The homeostasis is achieved by two methods, either by two opposing forces or by a negative feedback. Let us see an example of the negative feedback. Whenever amount of a substance itself keeps a control on its own source of production, then it is called negative feedback. You must have seen on your house top in the water tank, there is a water supply, and in the tank there is a ball or float attached with a rod. When the tank is half filled, the ball goes down valve becomes open and water supply comes in. When the tank is full, valve comes upward and it closes the valve, entry of water is checked. So this way here the amount of water itself is keeping a control on the entrance of water in the tank. So such activities where the amount of a substance itself keeps a control on its own source of production, it is called feedback. Feedback may be negative or may be positive. Example of positive feedback we can see during suckling of milk by a child. In the initial condition, the flow of milk secretion from mother's mammary gland is slow. As the child starts sucking this, the message is conveyed to the hypothalamus part of the brain of the mother. The rate of milk secretion is increased. The child also starts taking the milk with a more speed. This way, after some time, both increase each other and the rate of milk secretion is increased to the maximum. Secondly, now let us see two examples of how two opposing forces control the amount of a substance in our body. One example is the blood glucose level regulation and other is the blood calcium level regulation. Now let us see how it happens. So let us see an example of homeostasis in the blood glucose level regulation. The normal blood glucose level is about 80 to 140 milligram per 100 ml of blood. The supply of glucose to all body cells is very essential, and especially it is important in supplying glucose to the brain, because a slight interruption of a few minutes can become hazardous. So let us see how it is maintained. From food is digested, glucose is formed, and then it is absorbed, come in the blood circulation. For some time, the level of blood glucose rises. Immediately the message is conveyed to beta cell of pancreatic islets, which secretes insulin hormone. Insulin hormone causes glycogenesis or formation of glycogen from glucose. Actually, R.P. Levine in 1965 told that insulin hormone increases the permeability of cell membrane for the glucose. Glucose enters in the cell and it is polymerized to form glycogen. Liver and muscle cells are storage organ for the glucose. After some time, what happens? The glucose is supplied to all body cells and the blood glucose level may start going down. When it reaches below normal, immediately the message is conveyed to the alpha cell of pancreatic islets, which secretes the glucagon hormone. Glucagon hormone acts just opposite to insulin. It performs two activities. One, the glycogenolysis, in which glycogen is broken down into glucose and then that glucose comes into blood circulation. Sometimes there is no glucose in the storage organ and there is a need. Then at that condition, there is gluconeogenesis. In gluconeogenesis, the glucose may be formed from non-carbohydrate sources, amino acid or fatty acids, and glucose is formed, comes into blood circulation. Another condition is during emotional stress condition, sometimes during anger or fear or any excitement, the glucose supply of body cells is decreased. There is a need. Immediately that emotional stress causes secretion of cortisol and adrenaline hormone from adrenal gland. These two hormones again cause glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis, so that some glucose comes into the blood circulation. In the second example, you can see here in the regulation of blood calcium level regulation. Normal blood calcium level is about 10 milligram per 100 ml of blood. Here also, during digestion in the alimentary canal, the food is broken down and calcium is formed. About 1 gram calcium intake is there every day in our body, out of which 100 milligram is reabsorbed into the blood vessel by the action of vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential for absorption of calcium. Now, when blood calcium level goes down below the normal level, in that condition what happens? The message is conveyed to the parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland secretes a hormone called parathormone. This parathormone brings some calcium from the storage organ bone. Bones are the storage organ for calcium, and some calcium is brought into blood circulation. The blood calcium level becomes normal. As the blood calcium level becomes normal, immediately that PTH secretion is cut off. On the other hand, if somehow or other blood calcium level rises above the normal level, then another hormone, calcitonin, is secreted. Calcitonin is responsible for mobilizing calcium from blood vessel to the storage organ bone, and the surplus calcium is stored. Blood calcium level becomes normal. Now let us see one more example of negative feedback found in case of thyroxine secretion by the hypothalamus part of the brain. Let us see. Right. So, thyroid gland. A thyroid gland is found on the two sides of trachea. It has two lobes. It secretes a thyroxine hormone, and thyroxine hormone is tetraiodotyrosine, in which to the tyrosine amino acids 4 atoms of iodine are attached. The thyroxine hormone secretion is controlled by negative feedback. Let us see how. The hypothalamus part of the brain secretes a hormone, TSH-RH, thyroid stimulating hormone, releasing hormone. It stimulates the anterior pituitary gland. Anterior pituitary gland secretes a hormone, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and it stimulates thyroid gland. Then thyroid gland secretes the thyroxine hormone, or T4. Now let us see how the amount of thyroxine itself keeps a control on this hypothalamic stimulation. Whenever the concentration of thyroxine is less than normal, the message is conveyed, it switches on the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus starts secreting TSH-RH, which stimulates anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary secretes much more TSH, and it stimulates thyroid gland to secrete much more amount of thyroxine. As the thyroxine level reaches the normal level or just slightly above the normal level, immediately the message is conveyed. It switches off the hypothalamus and TSH-RH secretion is cut off. So no more increase of thyroxine secretion is done. It becomes normal. So this is, although nowadays there are many other examples, but it is the basic understanding of the cybernetics and homeostasis. Thank you very much.